Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where you meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gothberg. Hello, Shipping Podcast listeners. Today, I'm really proud to introduce to you Rolf Westerström, CEO at the Swedish Sea Rescue Society. I made this interview on October the 16th in the headquarters of the Swedish Sea Rescue Society in Gothenburg. How much do you know about search and rescue at sea? I didn't know much. I will leave you a few links on the website, but also on the show notes of this podcast. Please have a look. And I also think that the Swedish Sea and Rescue Society is a little bit more world famous than Rolf gives it credit to. As you will hear, Rolf has been with the society for a very long time, and the society has grown and developed a lot during his time. We are talking about two kinds of boats that they are using. I will leave pictures of them on the Facebook side of the Shipping Podcast in case you haven't seen them. Otherwise, you can always find it on the website of the society, which is SSRS.se. I am really impressed by the work they do. Rolf is such a humble and nice person, and I think as a leader he sets the atmosphere. This podcast is sponsored by the Swedish Mercantile Marine Foundation, which manages donations and funds for the benefit of seafarers in the Swedish shipping industry. Please enjoy Rolf Westerström. Rolf Westerström, welcome to the Shipping Podcast.
Thank you.
Who are you?
I'm a 65-year-old waiting to get retired, and my background is schooling as sea captain and early on that professional fisherman.
I see. And now you are with the Swedish Sea Rescue Society.
Yes, I've been involved in the Swedish Sea Rescue Society all my life. I grew up, my father was a captain, I was a voluntary crew member since I was 11, 12, either if I wanted or not. My father said, today you're a volunteer.
I see. The entire rescue association?
It's built on voluntary basis. You know, we have 70 stations around the coast, and they all crewed by voluntary women and men who take turns to take the watch.
So how many boats do you have in the society?
I think we have today boats and hovercrafts. We have about 230 units, depending on winter weather, summer weather or what. Most of the station have at least 2 or 3 units, and they take that unit as most suitable for the purpose of that call.
Mm-hmm. And it's all sponsored?
We are NGO, non-government organization, started in 1907. We would have gotten grants from the government if we had asked for, but we never asked for it for 108 years or whatever it is now, and our board thinks we are stronger if we have no debts, everything paid. So we built up on memberships. Today we have 100,000 family members who more or less pay for the running cost. And then all the investments of new boats and new station house and equipment is donated. But mostly private persons and foundations, not so much companies. There is some commercial sponsoring, but very, very little.
And we are in the headquarters now. How many people work here?
I think we have 22 desks here, who is here all the time, because this is it's our headquarters and our only office in Sweden, where we run and pay every bill from. Then we have a couple of inspectors who runs around on wheels to support our voluntary or the station daily around. So totally we might be 30 employees and 2,100 volunteers.
It's amazing. Is that the way sea rescue is run all over the world? Is that, or is it different in different countries?
Many people think it's so strange, but it isn't that strange. Going out weather-wise or nighttime or so, it's always come down to almost a voluntary decision. But you could say Europe is very much voluntary. England, Germany, Holland and Sweden, we are the same organization, hundreds of years old, always free from government influence. But volunteers are everywhere, but in different sizes. Where we don't have voluntary much is like US Coast Guard or in Denmark where the military runs it, because they have that attitude that if they get the responsibility, it's their job. Nobody else should be involved. But in most other countries, you do the Swedish model that everybody who can helps in search and rescue.
And it's the same with Asia and that part of the world?
Well, it's different culture. But, I've been on the same board as the Chinese Coast Guard captain, or the head of the Chinese Coast Guard for the last 12 years. And, they have 40,000 employees, but they are building up now volunteer because they see their economy can't hold 40,000 employees to having watch for search and rescue. So they are moving into volunteers pretty rapidly now.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so you're on the international level also.
Yeah, we have, of course you have IMO, who has the big regulation for United Nations. But in the branch of search and rescue, there is committee at IMO. But we have an organization started 1924 by 7 countries. At that time it was called International Lifeboats Federation. We met every 4 years through the war and all to make search and rescue better. And Sweden was one of the founders, and they met in London, 24. Since that, IMO has come up as well, but ILF has continued to run, but we changed name like 10 years ago to International Maritime Rescue Federation, because in the beginning it was only lifeboats. But, with having now the administration, have the helicopters and aircrafts, we wanted to have everything in search and rescue involved. So we have International Maritime Rescue Federation, and that I have been on the board since we founded that. But now I left. SSRS still has a place. It's 7 people from around the world. You can say more or less 1 from each continent.
Mm-hmm. And what is the responsibility?
The only goal IMRF has is to lower the figures of casualty around the world, because still there's different figures if you take swimmers and pools and all, but there is around 200-300 up to 400,000 people losing their lives at sea every year, according to Canadian Transport figures.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and if you take ILS, International Life Saving, the Swimmers Association, they say it's over 1 million, but we're talking coast-wise. So there is things to be worked. So the whole thing is prevention and help those countries who doesn't have search and rescue to develop that and build up models. Because in the end, search and rescue is a financial thing for poor countries. If you have accidents, they will lose the tourism and all. So it's an important step for the country's economy too, I think.
And you meet once a year? Or?
We meet every 6 months. And we meet different places in the world, but we also have local, if I say European branches. So we meet on Åland in 2 weeks, because Ålands Society, our sisters organization, has its 50th birthday. Mm-hmm. So we will be, all of Europe will come to Åland for 3 days.
Wow,
yeah,
that would be a nice place to be.
Yeah,
should have been in the springtime, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. But and Åland is very close to SSRS, of course, because many of our members have their summer vacation around the islands of Åland, especially from the Stockholm archipelago.
And you were hosting a world meeting here 2 years ago, something?
No, time goes fast. It was 2007, on our 100th anniversary. We had that big congress, who is every 4 years. But every 2 years we meet for a mass rescue conference, because we think mass rescue is something where we need to discuss all the time, because there's so many involved. Not the people we just rescue, but there's so many organizations who need to be on the shore side and all to coordinate the mass rescue operation. So that we're hosting here in this house every 2 years.
Yeah, and we could see them, all these important people, they were rescued actually from a small boat outside the...
Well, it's little of the idea that we should not just sit in the office and do big plans. Be in the water, be in a raft and see how it's easy to move around in a raft. And we done, the last time we had it here, we also did a test where we put 12 men in it. I think we only put 11, but in a 12-man raft and sent it to sea here and to see. After 23 hours, we had to start to pick people up with stomach problem, and we were going to do the test for 48 hours and it lasted for 30. We had to break it. And this was physical young people between 25 and 35. So there's a lot who can be better.
Yeah. I understand that after the big catastrophe with Estonia, you started to get at least some funding to do some research as well.
Yeah, well, it hit home so close, being a mate on ferries myself, it wasn't really in our fantasy that this could happen. But it did, and it happened 70 nautical miles outside Stockholm, so it wasn't on the Swedish search and rescue region, but we had our old steel ships at that time with 9 knots, and none of them were called out because they felt that they were too far away along. So it kind of shook up the whole organization, and also knowing that there were 28 merchant marine ships in the vicinity of the accident within 2 hours, and they didn't have really good equipment to help and had a practice. So we started already back then, at that time, 1995, to start work with Stena Line, to start work with the crew, try to find better things, because I'm convinced that in a big accident at sea, big platform you have with other ships around, but it's to move the people who is the key. And that you do with small boats, easy to handle, not damage people in the water. So it's been a big thing, but things happen. Just since I came here 23 years ago, if you take on Scandinavian Star, HEWELIUSZ, Estonia, it's a lot of casualty in the modern waters happen over the last 23 years. So our saying is we shall always be prepared. So we work with the National Administration, Sjöfartsverket here, to always have plans, always be updated, always have exercises on this. You never know when it's going to hit Swedish water.
But also you have developed these new kind of boats, the Victoria boats, and you haven't got the small sea rescue runners?
Rescue runners, yeah. All our boats are designed and developed with experience to be good to what we're doing right now. There should be maneuverable, it's volunteer crew member, they should make speed, because speed is important when you work with rescue. So all of our classes is designed for the purpose of search and rescue, but also safe. And it's a Swedish design. We have 2 designers. One is Rolf Westerström with the Victoria class and the Rousing class, and then we have Fredrik Falkman, who developed the rescue runner. After he went over to Hawaii, trained with the lifeguards on 10-12 meters waves in white water, and where boats and helicopter can't come into. And they use what you call a water ski with a sled, but they had a lot of accidents with arms with the 2 men on the watercraft. But he said, let's build in the sled in the unit, and that's what we did, and we invested some money into, but it became very, very easy to pick up people out of the water. And that little rescue runner can be used anywhere on this planet. In a river in Congo, out on the Atlantic, or in by our shores. Very useful. But it has to be there. It has to, if it shall be used in the Atlantic, it has to be on a cargo ship. Yeah. Right there. But it's very handleable and secure.
I had a chat with Jörgen Loreen, and he spoke about this, the crane thing.
Also that launching lifeboats has always been, in the merchant marine, always been a troublesome thing. You don't want to do it, and when you train with it, accident happens. So we have invented, or the guys have invented, a cradle where you drive straight through and don't need to hook or rehook.
I think you're so innovative, all of you. Everything I see is innovative in a way.
We have to, because we have a zero vision, and innovation is one part of it. Prevention is another part. Communication is very important. We have a team of 7 people now work within communication, because SSRS, Swedish Sea Rescue Society, we have kind of 3 bylaws, or what you should say we live after. And the first one is to look after that the politicians always have search and rescue and high on their political agenda. It cannot be forgotten. So we push politicians really to keep it up. We shall also, as number 2, prevent and make it so efficient as possible. And number 3 on our bylaws, you could say, is to have our own fleet. But if we do the 2 first best, we didn't need the fleet. So they're all 3 important. So we work on all 3 levels.
Yeah. So now, in these days, I have to ask about the yellow boats.
We all know about the problems in the Mediterranean and see what's happened. And we work with rescue. And we have been following it close. We have had crew members on the Doctors Without Borders ship outside Libya. Picked up 1,200 people in June, where 50 people drowned in front of our eyes because they turned over the boats. And we said it's a little too wide of a sea right there for our small units. We need the motherships to do that. So we've been a little helpless. And then the problem escalated in the Greek islands between Turkey. And then we saw that here we can do something, because it's more like we are stationed back home, stationed and out for fast rescues. And our boat fits good for that. And then the media house Schibsted came to us and said, we want to finance if we can move down 1 boat from SSRS to there, we can stand for all the money. And I said, yeah, I would like, if we go down there, I would like to go down with 2 boats so we can support each other. And then it started really with that Schibsted's employees said, can't we take 1% of our salary to do something so we can do something for these people who drown there? And that's how it started. So the campaign was going to be called the 1% campaign, but that was taken by something else. It became the yellow boats. I guess our sides of the boats are yellow. So at the moment when we are speaking now, the boats are transported down to Greece, will be launched on Monday, driven out to Samos. So the whole organization was cooking from our volunteers and employees. Can't we do something? Well, that's what we do every day. Why can't we help where it's needed even more right now? And now it's financed not by membership, not by the donor, but special donation. And the postcode lottery has also put in 5 million kronor.
I understand you have moved 2 of the ships that usually is on the Baltic.
Well, we moved one from Falsterbo, south coast of Sweden, and one from Stockholm, outside Stockholm, and then we moved in other boats to cover up for them. But we want to take 2 of our newest boats. We want to show that we mean and have with the newest and strongest engine of the Victoria class. So it's almost 2 brand new boats.
Mm-hmm. And how many people will be there on the crew?
We will have probably 3 to 4 crew members on each. We hope to our sister organization, Hellenic Rescue in Greece. They don't have many boats, but they have crew members, so we will train to get one of those aboard for the language and have at least 2 to 3 from Sweden on each boat.
Mm. And for how long will you stay? Do you know that?
We said we stay there for at least 6 months, but hopefully the problem has gone away by 6 months. If not, we can consider to stay there another year. Mm. And if the campaign and the money is enough, we maybe leave the boat there or rebuild 2 new ones here, depending on how much money comes in. Mm. It's covered all the cost to do the operation now.
It's impressive, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good cause. We can't let children just die when they're in water. That's our job, to pick them up. Wherever they be sent, it's not our problem, but we shall not let them drown.
Yeah, I agree. You have been close to the shipping industry for a long time, I would say. Part of the shipping industry. Depends on how you look upon it. What do you think about the shipping industry in a 20-year perspective? What have been the biggest changes?
Well, I don't know if I'm the right to say that, because we've been so involved now for almost a quarter of a century in rescue. So that's been my focus. But before that, of course, I was involved, started 1967 in Broström as a trainee, and at that time it was the old cargo ships, and I saw the revolution into ro-ro and container traffic. So that's of the big shipping. I saw that, and I was early in the ro-ro and spent most of the time in the ro-ro industry. But I can see that I think we have to work with the human factors, I think, a lot when it comes to, so I can see, being involved in search and rescue, I see also accidents happen over long Christmas and people are longing home, and I think they have to be working. I could see that even when I was to see that we were vulnerable over certain times when we were all longing home. And maybe one can work with different way that, I think. But as I know, I've not been in the commercial shipping for over 20 years.
No, but you see it and you sort of live it anyhow, I think. Yeah. The technical development now, I think it's amazing to see, because there's so many things happening at the moment.
Yeah, but when I went to sea 67, they told me, don't read to sea captain, because by 1985 they won't have crew on board.
Oh, I see. So it's a bit delayed then.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about the unmanned ships people are talking about now?
Yeah, I think we probably go. There will probably be some men on board, I think, to look over their technique, but it's feasible. And we run rescue boats now. We already have trials where we run for the bigger ships on trials. So. But it probably takes some years still in the commercial world.
Yeah, I agree with you. But it's interesting to see what's happening, because, as I usually say, what happens on land will happen on sea as well. So we just have to wait and see. And I mean, there are wireless cars and there are unmanned cars. You can see them in Gothenburg and so on. So, yeah, I think it's in the future, but...
It is.
I ask this to everyone, and I think it's a good question for you. Often shipping is looked upon as being invisible. How do we become more visible? I think you have succeeded in becoming visible to the general public as the Sea Rescue Society. How could shipping adopt something of what you are doing, or what do you think? How could we become more...
I think, as I said earlier, communication is a key. And right communication. And for us, I would say, while we have 100,000 members now, it's because that we got help with communication from professional PR bureau, which gave a donation, said, we can't man your ship, but we can do your ads and we can help you with the strategy of communication. And that has gone us from 19,000 members to over 100,000 members. So instead of having 5 million kronor in the yearly amount, we now have 65 million around the whole fleet. But that is professional communication or PR bureau. Without them, and I think shipping needs that. Shipping needs to be much more positive. Come out, well, it is positive. For me, Sweden is an island. We don't go up around Finland when we shall go down to the continent. We always cross water. And all the 349 politicians in Riksdag needs to know that all the time.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But how do we do it as an industry? Because you can do it because you can control what you are, which ads and strategy you are putting up as an organization. But in my view, I think the entire industry needs to do something together for a strategy to each and every day remind these politicians about our existence.
Oh, well, I'm not expert on it, but environmental, of course. I need to know that it's the most environmental transportation we have and capacity. And there's no doubt we should have shipping all over our waterways. And the politicians, but it's run from Stockholm, I think. And it's run, I can just see in my little world with shipping how little time they have to understand the shipping side of it.
But it's also got to do with recruitment of the young people. We are going to compete with every other industry for the young people. So how do we become more attractive than the other ones for them to choose shipping?
You mean Swedish people or general?
Yeah, general. I mean...
Well, we are European Union now. We should be like United States of Europe. There shouldn't be any different wherever our crew comes from within this area. And shipping needs to be, I think, modern in that way, that same regulations should go for whatever country we have. I don't know if it is that yet, that they all have national, but I mean, we have water around us. We have to go on boats.
Yeah. Sweden has got the longest coastline of the European Union.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
as you say.
And people don't realize that when we had our conference 8 years ago, we had 70 rescue vessels in Gothenburg here for a week. The one who had longest way home was the one from Holmsund. And we had rescue vessels down from Bay of Biscay and all around the English coast and all. And so we have a long coast.
Yeah, the longest one is on the other side of Sweden then, compared to Spain. Yeah, it's interesting. So, did you ever have a role model when you were young to look up to in shipping or in...
I looked up to the owner, I think, of the shipping who had this ship and dreamt about that, how they could run these expensive ships and get them running. I think, but I can't pick up a person, no.
Okay, because you're a role model now for the young people then?
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
No.
You're being too modest.
No. I don't think, I know too little IT for that.
So what are you going to do now when you retire?
I don't know, I look forward to it. You know, when you worked for 50 years non-stop, except when you went to school, but that was the hardest work, 3 years. But I will see. Hopefully get some time to enjoy life even more, because when you head those things or run an organization, you are 24/7. You can't do it on one arm or one hand. You just have to be with 7 days a week. And it's been a fun time here. I had a great life in shipping.
Do you have
I won't regret a single day from the day I started 67 on Vingaland, I think it was.
Do you have a boat of your own?
Yeah, I have one sailboat, stood on land for 3 years. I haven't had time to put it in the water, and I have a little motorboat too. But that's the first thing, to get the sailboat ready for next summer.
I can understand that. So who do you think I should interview the next? Who would you be interested to listen to?
I think Maersk is a big player around the world in shipping, so why not Robert Uggla?
A Swedish-Danish ship owner. I think he works for Switzer in London at the moment. Yeah.
And the family are donated a brand new rescue vessel to SSRS.
Oh, I see.
Which is very nice.
Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you, Rolf. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you soon again. I think this was a perfect start for the new year. A podcast about the Swedish Sea and Rescue Society and their yellow boats. Since we recorded this podcast, the yellow boats has been based on Samos in Greece, in the Mediterranean, and until Christmas they have saved more than 600 lives. You have to go to their website and have a look. It's heartbreaking, and I think they're making a really big difference by rescuing people who has fallen into the sea and is rather helpless there. This was the 23rd shipping podcast, and the first one for the year of 2016. I have come to realize that this can actually work. There are more people than me who are interested in listening to the maritime professionals and what they do at their everyday job. I'm now thinking of developing the concept, and I hope you will continue to follow me on my journey to becoming a better podcast host and producer. I need more subscribers, more reviews on iTunes, and of course, more sponsors. You can help me do that by subscribing or telling someone else to subscribe. Writing that review that you never had the time to do. And maybe tip me off about some sponsors that is interested in supporting me and the shipping podcast to get the word around about the shipping industry. Thank you for listening to the shipping podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, and hey, you can always tell your friends about it.